One of the biggest challenges that opponents of Christianity level against us is along the lines of, how can you worship a God who authorised the killing of entire nations in the Old Testament? Indeed, the well-known atheist Richard Dawkins refers to God as a vindictive, bloodthirsty, ethnic cleanser, control freak and bully. So how do we answer such allegations? Because there's no doubt that there was much killing in the Old Testament, and that much of it was ordered by God. And we also need to be clear that God is immutable. In other words, God never changes. So we cannot say that the God of the Old Testament is different from the loving God that we know from the New Testament and know today. The Bible says in Hebrews 13 and verse 8 that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So why did God seemingly condone such violence against the tribes of the Canaanites, the Amalekites and the Amorites? First, let us be clear that these people were far from innocent. In fact, they were utterly and totally depraved. The Amalekites' mission was basically to destroy Israel, God's people, by wiping them off the face of the earth. Deuteronomy chapter 25 tells us that they were following the Israelites and cowardly slaughtering the most vulnerable, the weak, the elderly and the disabled who were lagging behind. The Canaanites were inherently wicked people who engaged in bestiality, incest, even child sacrifice, with deviant sexual acts being the norm, and that's in Leviticus chapter 18. The Israelites simply asked for safe passage from the Amorites, but the Amorites sought to destroy them. And so the Israelites responded in self-defense. That's Numbers chapter 21. God will always protect and ensure the survival of his people. Sometimes the only way of doing this is by destroying their enemies. But what about the women and the children, I hear you ask? Why was it necessary to wipe them out? Whilst the women did not fight, they were by no means innocent. Numbers chapter 25 and verses 1 to 3 tells us of their seductive behaviour and how they enticed Israel to sexual immorality and worship of their false gods. God's destruction of these tribes was directed at their false religion and their idolatry rather than against the people themselves. It was not ethnically motivated. Indeed, Rahab was a Canaanite who, along with her family, were saved by God's mercy after assisting the Israelites. But what about the children? Join me next time as we discuss further this very issue.